to create is human. And it just makes so much sense, because what do we want more than to build something meaningful?
I guess philosophical would being philosophical. Gosh, I can't.
Just say it again.
Speak a lot.
The truth of life is the more outsized returns you want, the more risk you have to take on. I used to think that fear was like a wall, and it just showed me where to not go. Well, what ends up happening is you start with these fear walls like this, and they start going in, because every time you get scared, the walls get a little bit smaller and smaller and smaller. And so fear does not actually show you where not to go. It just shows you where risk is.
So tell me what you were saying about silence and violence.
If there's a problem and you got to talk about it, most people believe that there's only two options: silence or violence. Either you talk about it and you hurt people, or you say nothing, but then the issue just continues to build. But there is a third option.
Welcome back to the Success is a Myth podcast. I'm Jacob. And real quick, I just want to say this very clearly. With this podcast and with anything that I do online, I am in no way, shape, or form trying to say that I have made it. That like, I'm there, guys. I'm so successful. And if you want to be successful too, follow me. No, I am just trying to learn along the way. I am so far from where I want to be. I am merely documenting the process and documenting really cool conversations with really cool people that I meet along the way. And so if that sounds like something you're up for, or something that you're also trying to do, brother, just listen to the show, okay? This episode I had on my good buddy Kensington Rhodes again. He was my first or second guest that I ever had on the show back in episode 2, I believe. But you already heard a little bit about what's actually going to be in the episode in the trailer that I edited before this. So I'm going to shut up and let you get into this episode. Peace. How's married life, bro?
Dude,
Last time I talked to you, you were engaged, I think?
Yeah, the married part is phenomenal. Our lives are insane right now. It's been the busiest time of my entire life. The last 6 months. The last 6 months, like basically, honestly, this year. Because around Christmas, we told her extended family that we were planning on getting married. We didn't get engaged until March because we were waiting for the ring and whatever. But so we knew that we were going to get married around. I mean, we knew before that, but like people knew. The people that needed to know had an idea around Christmas, and like from the day that we told everybody, it was like, now we're planning mode. Now things are crazy. Now
things are moving along.
And it was, I mean, you saw me in the thick of it when we talked last, and it was crazy. And it's honestly like, we had 1 week in Hawaii as our honeymoon. And other than that week, it's just been constant insanity, like just never ending intensity. And, but the good news is that we've like both grown a lot, and it's been really cool to see how, cause I knew how hard, I knew she was working hard in pharmacy school. We dated basically the whole time she was at school, and I knew she was working hard. But it's been really cool to see how ridiculously consistent she is. Like she goes ham, dude. Like she is a fighter. She is extremely intelligent, and I got to be on top of my game to be able to keep up with her. Like she has a motor that's impressive, and the fact that she's done all this in her second language. Like she knew no English until she was like 24 years old. And she just got a PharmD. Like she got a doctor's degree in pharmacy.
That's
in
crazy,
English.
Dude.
In English. And Spanish is her native language. And it's not like she grew up bilingual. And she didn't know, she could not have conversations in Spanish until she was in her mid-20s. Or in English until she's in her mid-20s. And now she's a doctor.
That's fantastic.
It blows my mind, especially like I've learned other languages. The thought of me trying to do what
English has got to
doing.
be the hardest to learn.
Because we just don't follow our rules, but we do. But
we don't.
We have,
but yeah,
we have rules, but every rule is broken, and yeah, it's like, especially like I compare it to Korean was my first language I learned as a, or besides English, was my second language, I guess I should say. And like, it's hard, no doubt. The grammar's different, culture's different. They've got levels to how you talk, and there's a lot of things that are very different. And it's rated as one of the hardest languages by like the military for English speakers to learn.
Yeah.
But in terms of pronunciation and grammar and the way that words work, it doesn't break a lot of rules. Like you can memorize all of the times that the rules are broken. And that's not the case with English. I mean, I guess eventually you can memorize it, but like, you know, we got people who are like professors and they've been speaking English their whole life who still make English mistakes all the time.
100%.
It's just a wild. Anyway, we're kind of going off on a rabbit hole about languages, but like it blows my mind to watch her do what she does and do it not operating from a position of like being comfortable and from it being a strength. Like she took something that was literally a weakness and based her entire career off of like her ability to use it properly.
That is crazy.
So
in a different country than she grew up in, right?
Yeah, well, she grew up in Puerto Rico, so technically part of the United States, but it feels like a different country. It's an island. It's, you know, the Spanish is the native language there, and so like she's you know, born a U.S. citizen and all that, but her like language wise and culture wise, it's very different than like Utah or California, which are the two places I've lived.
That's interesting. So how was I wasn't initially planning on asking this.
I know.
But so how is being married and living a joint life with somebody affected? And maybe like you felt like this since like when I first interviewed you, but how has being married and living a joint life affected your perspective of, I guess, fulfillment or success?
You know, I think that I'm incredibly lucky because I found someone and I was thankfully able to like keep her around. But I found someone who I feel believes in who I can be and in my dreams, sometimes even more than I believe myself. I feel a constant emanating support from her and a constant belief from her, you know. And when, I mean, being an entrepreneur is hard. There's no playbook. We talked about this last time, but like there's no guaranteed way to be successful except you just stay in the game long enough and, you know, your chances of being successful go up the longer you're in it. But there's like, you could copy a business that's doing really well exactly and completely fail because circumstances are different. It's a different situation. And so it's like volatile. I would say it's a mentally taxing and emotionally taxing route to take, especially if you're not built for it. Thankfully, like I love it. And even when it gets hard, like the difficulty makes me excited because I'm like, I'm doing something great. I'm doing something hard. Like I'm going after what is good for me and not just what other people tell me is good for me. And she's been like this the whole time that we dated. So it hasn't changed by getting married, but I now feel her support more often. Like it's every day. It's in the morning when I drop her off and I give her a kiss through the window. It's when I pick her up from work and she's excited to see me. I'm excited to see her. It's when we go to bed and, you know, we have dinner together. When we started dating, I had not quite, actually, no. When we started dating, I was not in the entrepreneurship world yet. I was basically jobless. I was trying to figure out what to do, and I was doing odd jobs and things here and there. Mm-hmm. And she, from the very beginning, believed that I could do great things and that I could be an incredible husband and eventually father. No announcement. No, we're not having a kid anytime
You
soon.
sure you don't want to announce anything?
No.
Something you want to get off your chest there?
No. I need a little time.
No,
It's only been 3 months.
You're good. You're good.
But from the very beginning, she saw more in me than I saw in myself at that time. I knew that I could do something great, and I had aspirations, but I didn't know what it was going to be, and I had a lot of self-doubt. I was coming out of a period of self-doubt.
Yeah.
And yeah, like within a few dates, I could just feel like this girl, she doesn't just see me as who I am right now. She sees me as who I can become. And I felt, I just felt support from the very beginning, and I felt her belief, and I genuinely felt like she believed that I could be everything that I wanted to be, even though she didn't even know everything that I wanted to be.
Sure.
And living together, like, that support has just been strengthened, and it's beautiful. And I did not expect the first 3 months of married life to be as difficult as it's been, but the difficult part has not been because of a relationship issue.
Right.
It's like
right.
life around us has been extremely hectic, and so, I heard people talk about, like, you hold hands and walk through the fire together, and I'm like, that's what we're doing. Like, it's been crazy. I look forward to when the fire dies down a little bit, and we can kind of get our bearings a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't say enough good things about her. Like, I feel like she has unlocked my ability to become the best version of myself, and we have both transformed while we've been together, and I am ridiculously excited to see, where we can be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, if we make it to that. That would be pretty old, but anyway, really long
That's
answer
cool.
to how's married life.
No, that's good. I like it. Isn't it crazy? I've heard many times, the most important decision you'll ever make is like who you marry, and like
Freaking scary, right?
It is. It's a scary.
Why do you think
thing.
I waited till I was 32?
I only waited till I was 19. So, but I got ridiculously lucky with the person that I fell in love with when we were. I didn't think this podcast would take this turn, but I love it. Yeah, my wife, she's my girlfriend for a while. Before she was my girlfriend, we were really good friends, and we became best friends. And yeah, I mean, I was not in a particularly amazing spot when we started dating. I was really unsure of myself, and I don't know, I guess you could say, I don't know, dark cloud seems like a little dramatic to call it a dark cloud, but I was a teenager, I was really young. Looking back at it now,
Yeah.
I'm still young, 24 now, but I was probably 14 or 15 when we started becoming friends. And then we started dating when we were 16, 17. Anyways, and I've never felt anything but like just support from her. And the nice thing about it is, like, I'm a dreamer, right? I'm like the person that's like,
Gotta be. To be in this world, man.
A little bit, yeah. You gotta be
like creative entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like ridiculously optimistic. So much to where it's my fault. To where I'm like, what do you mean? There's no downsides here. Like, I just see like good things coming out of this situation. But I'm a dreamer, and she pulls me down to earth sometimes, but not in like a kill my dreams way. I used to hate the phrase "your wife's always right," but now I see it as like a blessing, because I'm like, I see things almost like an extreme. Like, I see things through like the what if. Like, what if I do this? I can become famous. I can make $1 million. Like, I can scale this thing. Like, I can make this happen. And she's all for it. She's like the logistics person, which works really well, actually.
That is good.
It complements me, and hopefully I can compliment her a little bit and help her rise to her potential too. And I'll be the first to admit it. I'm not perfect at getting people's projects to them on time or managing a work-life balance. I am on my phone too much trying to handle stuff, and She's real supportive, and has a really good ability to tell when I'm not being the best that I can be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Something that I can't see myself.
You know, one of the most meaningful, and we had this conversation a few times, but one of the most meaningful conversations that we had early into our dating process was her being like, hey, I know you want to be like an entrepreneur, but like, what are you doing? Like, about that.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you know,
she needed like an answer. Yeah.
I'm reading books, and like sometimes Mike calls me to help him on a shoot, you know, and she's like, well, I mean, if you want to do something insane, you gotta go hard. You can't, if you want to become this entrepreneur who's actually successful and not just a entrepreneur who flashes fake money on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, she was like, you know, you can't be going to the gym for 3 hours at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. You gotta be going hard. You gotta be getting out there and doing things. And she's like, I don't know what the things are that you would do, but I want to see you go after it. And I had been thinking that I was working hard, and then having her just be like, hey man, like you've got these dreams. What are you doing about them? It was just like, she kind of checked my ego a little bit. She was like, I mean, if you're gonna, like, this is a harder path than getting a regular job. Yeah. A much harder path than, like, you can get a regular job and it's pretty easy to keep it for the most part. And she's like, if you want to do something harder, you want to do something crazy, you have to be willing to put in a crazy amount of work. And, you know, I was working hard compared to what I did when I had a regular job, but I wasn't at the level that you got to be successful as an entrepreneur. And so, you know, a couple intense conversations really lit a fire under me, and I was like, man, she's right. And so she's always right. Yeah, we picked it up, and I like started doing a whole lot more with Temple Mill, and then when we pivoted to Viddy, like, we hit a new level. And Mike talked about in the podcast that you did with him that he's like at the top of his game right now. And it's really cool because we were talking the other day about he and I are both at the top of our games right now at the same time. And that, I think, is pretty hard to find, and hard to get to with with co-founders or with people that any partnership in any way, for like both people to be hitting on all cylinders at the same time is pretty crazy. And I don't think it's because like we got lucky. I think it's because we hold each other accountable and we have hard conversations all the time. And we have high expectations for each other. You know, I put Mike in uncomfortable positions all the time by setting us up for things that are going to be hard for him to fulfill on. But he responds to the challenge. And I try to do the same. You know, he has high expectations for me, and I all the time am put into a situation where I'm like, I've never used this gear before. I've never done this thing before. I've never done that, whatever it is. You know, he's like, oh, by the way, you're going to be switching a live stream for a whatever event. And I'm like, I don't even know how to use a switcher.
Yeah, you're like,
he's like, you just push these buttons and you monitor the audio here and you whatever. And he just like throws me to the wolves. But because he has that faith in me, like he has that belief that I can handle it, like maybe I shouldn't be able to do the things that like I sometimes get asked to do. But because Mike just is like, oh yeah, you got it, I'm just like, well, okay, I guess I got it.
Yeah,
let's go.
You have no choice.
Yeah. So anyway, we're spending the whole time talking about other people that inspire me and make my life better, which
I love it.
I think is pretty on brand, because I wouldn't be me if it wasn't for the people that I love and the people that believe in me that are close. And Mike and my wife are two of those extremely important people.
I think it's too often it's stressed to do all the other things, be consistent, make good videos, and not just good videos, make a good product and talk to your audience and find your audience and all this different stuff. And hustle culture, which I think that is starting to kind of become less of a thing. We're starting to realize what's most important. But I think on a deeper level, the better thing to focus on is who you surround yourself with, and not just on a professional level, but also on like an interpersonal level. And for me, I can confidently say, like, my wife and friends and family, but particularly because I spend every evening and every morning with her and most weekends, is like undoubtedly like the most supportive, wildly supportive people that I could have ever picked. And it's cool going to what we were talking about last night, just on our phone call, and then what you mentioned with the gym. We go to the gym and we push each other to be better, and that's way easier than trying to go on your own. And anyways, so
Yeah, it is.
that actually leads me into into something that I had. What are some of the parallels between the gym and life that you've seen?
Oh, dude.
Because you've been
One of my favorite subjects.
I haven't told you this yet, but I like resonate with you, like your gym development hardcore. I feel like I can't relate to most people on this because most people are like, I'm overweight and I need to lose weight. And for you, you were telling me last night, you're like, dude, over the past 10 years of working out and eating smarter and whatever, you've been able to gain like 40 or 50 pounds of like lean mass.
Oh, yeah.
But what are some of the things I feel like I relate to that hardcore because I've always been the scrawny kid and I don't want to be the scrawny kid anymore. So I'm like, trying to get a little bigger than.
Yeah.
But
dude, it's, yeah.
I feel like, and most people are like, I see a hamburger and I gained 5 pounds, and for me, I'm like, I just have like the opposite of appetite when I see food sometimes, which is like a weird thing for most people to grasp. But
No, I mean, I can set the stage a little bit.
Yeah.
For the background, because I mean, you look at me, people watching will see, like, I'm not a big bulky guy. Even today, like you said, I gained 45. I think as of a few days ago, it's 45 pounds of lean mass, and I think I'm slightly leaner. It's not like I did a DEXA scan or whatever right before I started, but I'm slightly leaner than when I started going to the gym, which was 2015. So it's been a full decade now. But to kind of explain the gym story and why I love it so much and why it's been so impactful, I have to go back to my childhood, because I grew up as a very small and scrawny and kind of odd looking child. No one will say that a kid looks funny because they don't want to be rude to a kid, but I looked kind of funny. And at least I perceived that I looked funny. I didn't like the way that I looked. And there's evidence that I looked somewhat funny because I moved 9 times in 10 years from age 2 to 12. And every place that I moved to, I got bullied. And so it wasn't like I just happened to get in one place where people bullied a lot there. It's like every spot I went to, people picked on me. And the worst of it was I moved in the middle of middle school to Utah. And for the most part, people were phenomenally kind and friendly. But I don't know what it was. There was a small group of kids that just used to pick on me a lot. And, so a couple times I got like a black eye because somebody punched me in the face randomly. I don't know why. I didn't ever get in a single fight.
They're just projecting their...
Yeah. I mean, I had a bit of a mouth, but...
well, maybe that.
But I wasn't like going up to the big, huge football players and saying stuff to them. But for some reason, those guys were punching me in the face. I don't know why. And even now as an adult, I don't understand really why it happened, but it did. And people, every place I went, people made fun of me for being small or scrawny or pale or having... You can see I got bags under my eyes right now, but these have actually been here since I was like 4. Like I've had this my whole life. They're just worse now because I'm getting older, and they're a little deeper. But I've always had this look of looking like chronically tired and having bags under my eyes. Like this is just how it is. It's just part of who I am, And for some reason, if a kid looks a little different, people pick on him. And you add on to that I was usually the smallest, scrawniest, weakest, and being picked on all the time, didn't have a lot of self-esteem, all that stuff. And so my mechanism for protecting myself was to hide or to use my mouth to like outsmart and insult people. And that was all I had as defense. There was nothing else.
I relate to that, actually.
Common story for a scrawny kid, I think. As I get older, I realize other people run into this, and people feel like people like us don't deserve any sympathy because we're not fat. You know, it's like, oh, we're so sensitive about not insulting people who are overweight that we go the opposite direction with someone who is underweight and is small. And it's like, it's a weird thing where it's totally cool to make fun of short dudes, but you can't make fun of anybody who's overweight. It's like, it's just a weird thing. I don't know what's going on. And you can be like, oh, you're going to blow away in the wind. But if you tell someone that they look like a hippo, you're going to get freaking wrecked. Right. It's just a funny thing. And I'm not butthurt about it. But as a kid, I was always getting made fun of and picked on. So anyway, I was always just a small person in general. And then the worst that it ever got was when I was on a mission in South Korea for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And, I was working hard. It was a phenomenal place. I loved the people. I loved the language so much that I studied it as my major when I came home, and phenomenal memories and unbelievable experience. I loved it. And first, I think it's because we were walking around all day or what it was. I don't know exactly, but I started losing more and more weight while I was out there, to the point where they have like a mission doctor, and I lost so much weight that you could see that I looked like sickly. I looked, like my face, I had bones popping out. You could see my ribs through my armpit. Like I was really small. And so they made me meet with the mission doctor, and they were like, hey, if you lose any more weight, you're going to have to go home. And I weighed myself, and it was in kilograms, but the lowest that I got was 105 pounds. And at 5'8", that's like 40 pounds underweight, I think, of what's recommended. And I got to 105 pounds, and they said, okay, if you lose another pound or another kilo, we're sending you home. And so every week they'd call me and they'd say, how much were you the last time you weighed yourself? And because I knew they were going to ask that question, I just stopped weighing myself so that I could just say, I still weighed 105 last time I checked, because I knew the weight was just dropping off me. Like, it's just, that's how my body is. I have
such a hard time putting on weight, dude. Such a hard time.
So, I eventually, I made a really concerted effort to eat a little bit more, and I was seriously eating more than everyone else around me, and barely gaining any weight. But I came home, and I was home for a little while, and I told my uncle, who owns a supplement company, and he's built like a freaking silverback. Shout out to Uncle Joe. I told him that I wanted to start going to the gym because I was tired of being small. And, I was just kind of venting one Sunday at family dinner. And he was like, well, let's go. And I was like, oh, shoot. You caught me. I was kind of bluffing.
I didn't mean now. I meant
I was like, I meant in a month. And he's like, let's go tomorrow. And I was like, okay. And then I didn't text him. I didn't remind him. I just was kind of hoping he'd forget. And the next day, he just calls me. He's like, I'm on my way to your house right now. I'm picking you up. We're going to the gym. And so Uncle Joe and my Aunt Mare picked me up from the gym, and they take me to the gym for 2 years while I was in college. Came and picked me up, brought me to the gym, showed me what to do, and made me feel comfortable, even as a really scrawny kid whose biceps were smaller than his elbows, and who I was so self-conscious. They made me feel they made me comfortable. They taught me what to do, and they made me realize that everybody feels awkward at first, and that's just how it is. And the truth is, nobody's actually really looking at you. And if they are, it's because they think you're attractive. So it's a win anyway. And so that's like how I got started. And then I noticed pretty quickly that I started to feel more confident. And I was really slow to gain muscle. Like, not only am I naturally skinny, but I don't put on muscle super easily, or at least that was my perception, right? That was the story I was telling myself. And so I was committed to, I was like, if I just don't stop, like if I just keep going, eventually something will happen. And here we are 10 years later. And, I've gained 45 pounds from when I started going to the gym. I was 110. And I remember, because I weighed myself right before going, I was like, I wonder what'll happen. And now I am around 155, 160. It's like, am I the most shredded dude in the world? Absolutely not. Am I the biggest, buffest, most jacked person? No. But I now feel healthier. I have more energy. I'm definitely stronger. And if I get hurt, I know how to like heal those for the most part. Obviously there's big things that could happen, but like any sort of normal injury that happens in the gym, besides something catastrophic that requires surgery, I know how to rehab myself. And so now for me to get kicked out of going to the gym, it takes a lot. And the gym, like consistently working out, is such a beautiful thing in life, because you cannot get results instantly. If you have the most insane genetics, it'll take at least a month. And the average person is like 3 to 6 months to see some actual muscle growth. Now, you can lose weight faster, but if you want to see muscle growth, it takes time. And, you asked originally, like, how does that relate to creating social media, entrepreneurship? And I feel like the gym relates to nearly everything in life, and it teaches you lessons that apply through any facet of life. You got to be consistent. You can't be overly obsessed with the results. You have to be obsessed with the inputs. And one of like the more difficult lessons that I learned from going to the gym is, if you just keep doing the exact same thing all the time, you will see growth in the beginning, and you won't see a lot of stagnation, but eventually your growth plateaus. And it's like, if you go to the gym and you just grab the fives every time, you will grow at the beginning, because your body's not used to that. But if you're still doing fives 10 years later, you've plateaued long before that. Sure. And that was like a hard thing for me to learn, because I am naturally a very risk averse person. I have deliberately changed this about myself, but naturally I was a very risk averse person. So I was always scared to go up in weight. And it wasn't until I realized that by not ever going up in weight, I was guaranteeing that I couldn't grow. It's like by refusing to take on any risk, I guaranteed that I would never have any sort of outsized returns in any manner. And it wasn't until I realized that, and I was like, okay, I'm actually going to try and progress. Progressive overload is what all the gym bros are obsessed with, right? It wasn't until I realized, okay, I have to always be pushing my comfort zone, pushing myself beyond what I've been doing if I want to see consistent growth. And just doing the same thing you've always done and never taking a chance guarantees that you can never reach the heights that you're chasing. And I think if I had understood that concept earlier on in my lifting journey, I'd be, bigger, leaner, stronger, whatever than I am now. But I'm not sad about that, because that growth of learning that in the gym has applied to every other area of my life. Because now I look, I'm like, oh, if I just take the easy path all the time, if I take the path that's no risk all the time, that's actually the riskiest move, because it's a 100% chance that you won't get where you want to go if you always take the easy path.
Sure. And for me, I was just like you at the beginning. I was just like so afraid to go to the gym. I made videos for a gym before I ever actually maybe once or twice, because my wife is like had a subscription to another gym in town, and she like took me to run a couple miles or like work out with her a couple times. But like, even like, I just remember the first probably 5 or 10 times I went in, I was like really like looking around, really nervous of what other people were looking at. And people can feel that. And for that reason, they're looking at you. They're like, what does this kid steal? Like, why is he, you know? And, or they just don't care. Like, maybe that was just my perception, is that everybody was looking at me because I felt like they were. But I don't know, man. It's these past couple months we've been going more regularly, and specifically these past 2 weeks we've gone just about every single day. And it started out as my wife's like, hey, you want to train for a 5K with me? And I was like, she's always asking me this, and I need to say yes more. And so this time I was like, yes, like I'm not saying no this time. And so I'm like, hey, let's do it. Let's run 2 miles a day, 2 miles a day, 4 miles a day, whatever it is. And because I was going every day, after the first couple times, I'm like, I just worked out my legs, but what about my arms? So I like did an arm lift, and then I did like cardio, and then I did a leg day, then I did arm day again. For me, I'm like, that is a huge win to do that.
Yeah, dude. Proud of you.
It's good. We've been talking about this, about marriage at gym for like 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Well, that's what's on my mind these days.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
It's going to be funny. This podcast is going to take like a wild shift, like 45 minutes in.
Do it. Rip that Band-Aid off. Let's transition. Go.
Let's do it. So in the last 12 months, regarding Viddy Studio and who you serve, has there been a moment, something that really shifted the way you saw what you're doing in a whole different light?
Okay, there has been a big shift that is not immediately apparent. And that is my belief that we are actually doing something that is meaningful for creators went from like hope to, like almost like I wouldn't say grasping at straws, but I hoped that people would appreciate this, to a full-blown confidence that our tool may not be at the final level where we want it to be. Our software might not be at the final level where we want it to be. But we are working to do something that will improve the lives of creators. And I have seen people respond in ways that I did not expect, you being one of them. I was not expecting that people would appreciate what we're doing as much as you have and other beta testers or paying users have. Like I didn't expect people to like get really hyped about what we're doing. I thought it would be cool. I thought it would be good. And I thought eventually we'd get something really awesome, but I didn't think in the early days that people would appreciate it as much as they do. And we have not reached any sort of level of like insane success by any means. But what we are building aligns with who Mike is, who I am, who the rest of our team are, way more than I understood at the beginning. This is way more about people than it is about SaaS or software. It's just that software happens to be the vehicle that we chose to impact the creators in our lives. And I, as someone who did not identify as a creator growing up, but secretly always wanted to be, it gives me like an unbelievable amount of fulfillment to meet other creators and have something that I can actually give to them that we built that makes their life better. Like I get to directly impact their creative process in a positive way. And I always wanted to be part of something big. And I always wanted to be this person who did something incredible. And I wanted to be creative, but I didn't know where to funnel that. And I didn't know what to do with it. And, where Mike comes in, he's the traditional is probably not a very good word to describe Mike, because he's a trailblazer. He's a unique guy. And I freaking love him. But he's like a bona fide creative person. He's a creator in the sense of like full of creativity. He does things his own way. He is authentic and original. And talented and skilled, and I talk about Mike being the fire and I'm the ice. Like, he comes in with some heat all the time. Like, he's not a dude who's walking around just low key. Like, he you know when Mike is around. Mm-hmm. Yep. And he's got that pure creative energy, and I love it. And he's always been like that. Like, we're cousins. I'm like 5 years older than him. And he's always been the guy who zigs when everybody else zags. Like, he's always been that person who like embodies what a creative is. But I'm not, or I haven't been. And when we first met, I kind of like, and I introduced myself to the Happy Creative group. I was like, I'm not a creator as much as I am an entrepreneur. And the more that I think about that, the more I realize that was just a false interpretation, because entrepreneurs are creators as well. They take something that's in their mind that's just all they have is a vision, and they bring it to life. They turn it into something real. And so I've realized that my more natural and obvious path to scratching that creation itch is through business, is through entrepreneurship. Now, along the way, I've also gained some creator skills. I'm by no means as skilled and talented as someone like Mike or someone like you when it comes to the actual like video production or photography or that sort of stuff. But, I'm comfortable on camera now. I know my way somewhat around cameras. I don't ever want to do a shoot without somebody else around. But like, I've gained some of these skills.
Keep them training wheels on, man.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You're good. You're good.
Mike is the ultimate training wheel when it comes to that. He's so good. But and he has confidence in me. But I've realized that like, I am a creator too, and it might be a slightly different lane than other people that I'm serving. But like, I also am a creator, and I honestly believe that anyone who is living like fully authentically is going to have an element of creation in their life. Like, I think it's an inherently human thing to have the desire to create and to build. I love that. And, I'm creating a life with my wife. I'm creating a business with Mike. I am creating software with our co-founders and our other, he's way more than an intern. Shout out Trenton. He's the man. But like, we're creating software. We're now creating this community for creators, connecting creators. And I think that as human beings, we desire to create inherently. And if you're really living at your fullest and you are truly going after like who you're meant to be, there's going to be an element of creation in that. Now, it doesn't mean you got to be an entrepreneur or you got to be a videographer or filmmaker or photographer. You don't have to do a traditionally creative job, but to create is human. I think I've seen someone say that somewhere before, and it just makes so much sense, because like, what do we want more than to build something meaningful? For me, that's always on my mind. It's like this underlying theme of my life is to build or create something meaningful. And I choose to funnel that into currently making tools and communities for creators, because I love seeing other people create, and it inspires me. Like, seeing Mike do his thing, whether it's music or photography or videography or leading our company as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, is so unbelievably fulfilling. And then to have him turn around and give me the same support that I can also be my version of a creator, like, it is an unbelievable blessing, and something
the stars
that,
have aligned.
Yeah, we treasure it, and he and I nerd out together about how lucky we are that, like, that we were given a co-founder that would match us so well by our own family. And we're cousins. We literally, like, my co-founder was born in my family. Like, he was like, if that's not some sort of like cosmic something going on, I don't know what is. And, we of course make it that way. Like, we've put the work in to make our relationship work in a way that fits. And we've had our life experiences to get to this point, but an unbelievable blessing that I can share this with like not just a friend, but family, someone who is both. It's honestly, it blows my mind when I think about how lucky we are, of how well we mesh, and it also, because we have that family aspect, we can get into it. Like we can really get after each other and kind of tear into each other when we need to, because there's an underlying trust. And so we have like pretty intense disagreements and arguments sometimes, but we always come out of it having resolved whatever we are disagreeing about. And it's never a personal attack. It's always like, how do we get better?
Right.
And anyway, I could talk for 35 days straight
good.
about how great Mike is.
That's perfect. I think one of the hardest things to do is to have hard conversations. And I think what separates, you can say it separates a good leader from a bad leader, or a good filmmaker from a bad filmmaker, a good spouse from a bad spouse, honestly. Like you could frame it back to a lot of different things. There is the ability to have hard conversations. And I've learned that in a lot of different ways. I learned that from being a manager at a restaurant. Had to have a lot of hard conversations with people there. I was managing people that were my age, people that were 3 years younger than me, that were 16 while I was 19, people that were 40 and 60 years old when I was 19 years old. I was managing a restaurant, and that was wild. And I learned a lot, and how to approach a conversation in a non-attacking way, in a non-aggressive way. Just like, here's the situation, here's the stump, here's the problem, here's why it can't go on any longer, and here's a solution I see. Tell me if that solution doesn't align with what you're seeing. This has gotten really philosophical, this whole episode. I love it though, but
I don't know what it is. I tend to go that direction.
It's the impact you have on me. No, I guess philosophical would being philosophical. Gosh, I can't.
Just say it again. Just say it again.
Philosophical. I feel like I feel that being philosophical leads me into the next thing I want to ask you, and that is, and I sent you this last night as something to think over, because absolutely nothing that we've talked about so far is anything that I told you to think about last night. A limiting belief or a fixed mindset, has your answer to that question changed? Do you have another answer? I don't mean to force you to come up with something. I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
I still stand by what I said, that for the vast majority of people, and definitely myself, that it's better to jump in, get some feedback, see what's going on, and then make adjustments, than to make a massive, huge, elaborate plan with no testing and then like hope the plan goes flawlessly and everything is great. So like, I totally stand by that. So yesterday I gave like a presentation to a community of people who are growth minded, and it was cool because I got to share some of my story, which we talked about last time, so I'm not going to go into it. But I talked about how my understanding of fear was really off my whole life up until my mid-20s. Mm-hmm. I used to think that fear was like a wall, and it just showed me where to not go. And so if I felt fear, then that's a sign that something there's bad and I need to avoid it. Well, what ends up happening is you start with these fear walls like this, and they start going in, because every time you get scared, the walls get a little bit smaller and smaller and smaller. If you don't ever push past that fear, it's always getting tinier. And so I've found myself, we talked about it before, but I was in a job, which was a great job, a great opportunity, phenomenal founders. Like, I loved my coworkers and I loved the founders there. They've built something awesome. But it was no longer where I needed to be. Like, I was supposed to have moved on to the next season of my life, but I was staying there. And it was because I thought that if I was afraid, then that was not the right place to go. And that it was like a warning sign to stay away from that place. And the thing that I've realized, and this took a lot of retrospection, and this wasn't something that I got very easily, is that fear does not actually show you where not to go. It just shows you where risk is. And so many times people talk about risk being, like, they talk about risk avoidance. They talk about wanting to, you want to de-risk your portfolio or whatever. And that's cool in the finance world. Nothing against that. But the truth of life generally is that the more risk, or the more outsized returns you want, the more risk you have to take on. So if you want something really wild, that's way outside of average, you have to take chances. And I don't know who said it. I tried to find the quote. Maybe I made it up in my own head. But if you never take any risk, then it is impossible for you to be anything other than mediocre. And so it's like, in the individual moment, you could be like, oh, it was smart not to take the risk to start a business because I would have lost time and money. That's probably true for your first business. And the second business, it was smart that you didn't start that because you probably would have lost time and money. And the third business is probably true too. But if you never do any of those businesses, you will never be a successful entrepreneur. And the thing is, and it goes beyond just entrepreneurship. Like, if you never take any risk at all, and kind of talked about this with the gym part too, but if you never take any risk at all, you are guaranteeing that you will be below average. You're guaranteeing that you will be mediocre, because risk is required for you to do great things. And so fear is just our natural ability to identify risk. And so that I like to compare it to a compass, because a compass doesn't tell you where to go. It just points north. And your fear doesn't tell you what to do or what to avoid. It just shows you where the risk is. And if you know where the risk is, now you can decide, okay, that's a risk worth taking. Or, the potential returns are higher than the risk is. And it makes sense. And for me specifically, if I run into a life decision, like a big move, an example is jumping into entrepreneurship, or the first time I went to Japan and lived there, or when I went to Guatemala and I lived there, or even when deciding to get married, there was a mixture of both fear and excitement. Now, I'm not saying that every time you're scared about something, you should just do that thing, because, then people be jumping off of bridges and cutting their hands off and doing crazy things. But if there's that combo of fear and excitement, and you feel like pulled towards it, the fear is just letting you know that there's risk there. And if there's risk there, there's a good chance that there is potential for some outsized returns. And so that combination of fear and excitement is something that I rely on every time that I'm going to be making a huge decision. When I was thinking about getting married to my wife, I was a little bit scared. There was a lot more excitement than fear in that situation, but I was a little bit scared because, my parents are divorced. I've seen many marriages of friends and other people fail. I've seen examples of bad relationships, and I feel like when you're dating, you're not, it's inherently not as deep as being married. Yeah. And so there's an element of not knowing what's going on or what could happen if you get married. And so I had a little bit of fear, which is probably why I took so long. We dated 3.5 years, and we definitely could have gotten married earlier. But that small element of fear mixed with the excitement, really, like, to me, I was like, if I'm just excited and there's no fear, like, it could still be a good thing. But the little bit of fear shows me that there's a chance to grow, and there's a chance for something really amazing to come from that. And so I use that kind of lens of fear plus excitement when I'm looking at big, huge life moves. And to this point, it's never let me down. I'm sure you can find examples of where it could let you down, but like a huge shift for me was changing the way that I interpret fear, to not be a wall, not be something that blocks me or definitively says where to not go, but instead just be a marker, to be information, to show me where risk lies. And I think it's Paul Graham, but he talks about that he's like the Y Combinator founder. I think he's a founder of it. And Y Combinator is like a really big startup accelerator. And so they're big in the startup world. But he talks about how one of the competitive advantages of startups is their ability to take on risk. And as an entrepreneur, it's like risk is a requirement for your life path that you have chosen. And so with that frame in mind, I now realize that fear is an incredibly useful tool to illuminate where those risks are. And instead of being something that boxes me in, it now helps me know where to go.
I love that. You're a keynote speaker, dude.
I don't know about that.
I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm definitely going to listen to this episode back. Like, I've never heard of it perceived that way, as fear being a guide of where risk is.
I've actually never heard anyone else say it. I think it's just my late night thoughts.
Let's go. This is like Kensington in the shower thoughts.
Yeah.
No,
Don't picture that in your head, please. Or don't forget, I'm a scrawny guy. I'm a real scrawny guy. Like, you don't want to.
Maybe we
that.
can think about Chris Hemsworth instead. Yeah, we're gonna stay away from that. This might be the stuff that I cut out. I totally got derailed. I totally was gonna. What were we talking about? Risk and fear.
Yeah.
Risk. Oh, I was just gonna say I'm definitely one of these people that wouldn't. I'm used to, you know, when I do feel fear, I'm like, okay, like stay away from that. I don't even really have a really solid example. I guess a good example of in the married scene is if I were to come home and say I have, I don't know, some surprise, like I brought home her favorite snack or something, or our favorite snack.
A good move.
Yeah, right? Usually a good move. And let's just say that in that particular moment, she had had a really rough day and she had made dinner all the way and she was like ready for me to come home. And like we have we snicker at each other for a minute, you know, like it happens, totally happens. And whatever, maybe that for me is like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. But maybe that just means I need to have a little bit more, I don't know, communication, I guess. Like, hey, are you okay you cool if I bring this home tonight? Like, and maybe because I know this has happened in particular, maybe I bought something that I thought was a really good move and she manages all of our money. And she's like, hey, maybe you should like really check with me before you do that. And it's not even like a bad thing to buy. Like it's
just lack of communication.
It's just lack of communication.
Yeah.
And honestly, now that I'm like saying this out loud, this goes along with more with communication than it does with fear and risk.
It's okay. But, I mean, these are two topics that I love.
If I weren't to have the communication and if I weren't to think outside of that moment, an immature version of myself would say, well, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, you would be...
I'm afraid of that moment happening.
You'd be learning the wrong lesson.
Right, exactly.
That's something, if you think about it when it comes to fear, specifically in your relationship, it's scary to bring up issues. But every relationship has issues. And if you pretend like there are no issues, you're going to end up with a huge issue. And
sure.
So if you let your fear of bringing up those issues block you from talking about them, instead of seeing it as
an opportunity,
a marker of somewhere where you can make a meaningful change and get some outsized returns, and we use finance language, like if you see like, oh, I have fear about having this conversation, that is a sign that this conversation could lead to something great if we have the conversation properly. If you see it that way instead of it as, oh, I shouldn't touch this, then now you've used your natural ability to be afraid and feel fear to illuminate where there's an opportunity to grow as a couple, rather than something that blocks you from growth. And like, I'm a huge fan of learning how to communicate better. And I've grown a lot in this area, definitely have a lot of room to grow further. But there's a phenomenal book that my wife and I have read together that I read before when we were dating as well, and played a huge role in our relationship. And I use stuff from this book super regularly, and to the point where I don't actually remember what's from the book and what's just from something else. Like it's been ingrained. But there's a book called Crucial Conversations, and they followed a bunch of people who were really impactful in their realms, whether it was the workplace or whatever it was, who were specifically really good at communicating. And it breaks down like a really great framework, tells great stories so it sticks in your mind. It's a pretty easy read, and they give like examples of poor communication. So like it gets funny sometimes too, because you're like, I've done that before, or I've seen people do that and it's blown up in their face. So like if you specifically are looking to improve your communication skills, and more importantly than just like being able to talk to anybody, specifically to have tough conversations and get, because one of the main things, this is the one thing I'll share from the book, which is like one of those mind benders the first time that I understood it, is it talks about how most people believe that you have, if there's a problem and you know you got to talk about it, or you feel like you got to talk about it, most people believe that there's only two options: silence or violence. Either you talk about it and you hurt people, but you get the issue resolved, or you say nothing, but then the issue just continues to build. And so most people believe that those are the only two options. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where it's like, oh, it's really awkward with this person and it's just getting worse, but like, I don't want to say anything because if I do, we're going to have a fight.
Yeah.
If you've ever felt that way, it probably built to a point where eventually like, I just have to say something. And then you say something and it doesn't go well and it blows up in your face and it gets ugly. And so that's the two ends, right? That's where most people believe you have to choose between one of those two options. Big, huge fight, blow up, painful, somebody gets hurt, you damage a relationship, but the issue is tackled. Or say nothing and it just kind of balloons quietly in the background until you can't ignore it anymore. But there is a third option, which is you can have the conversation, address it, fix the issue, and by fixing the issue with the other person, you can actually improve your relationship with them. So not only are you able to resolve whatever the problem is, but you can actually walk out of it on the other side with a stronger relationship. Like that is the ideal, right? Like the reason that we don't understand that it's possible is because it's the hardest one. It takes the most intentionality. It requires the most patience and the most maturity. But the potential return for taking that on is huge. Like imagine if every single person that you had a struggle with in your life, you were able to have one of these crucial conversations with, and after that conversation is done, the issue that was bothering you related to that person is gone, and now you're closer to each other. Like if you could actually do that with every most important relationship in your life, you would be surrounded by incredibly intense and deep, loving, impactful relationships in your life. Not saying that every single issue that you run into is worth having this big, huge planned conversation, but the most important people and the most important issues are absolutely worth it. And that book really does give you some phenomenal breakdowns of how to handle it. And like the first key tool that they talk about is you got to make the conversation safe. Like you have to be able to actually talk about what's going on, which goes back to exactly what you said when you were a restaurant manager. You got to lay out what's going on first. And anyway, I could talk a long time about that book specifically and how it's affected my life, my wife's life. And
That's incredible.
But I highly recommend it. Like it's one of
I'm seriously like probably going to give that a read now. Man, I hope by me bringing up the whole like having hard conversations thing, I realize now that the way I said that maybe made it sound like I'm a good person, and if you don't have conversations, you're a bad person. But I just think that the ability to go into hard conversations with good intentions, with the other person's best intentions at heart, it's the best thing to do, I think.
critical.
And once you see that as a a boss is where I saw it first at Wendy's, the restaurant that I managed, where I'm like, I really don't want to hurt this person's feelings. I don't want to, when I fire this person or when I write this person up, I don't want to just like, cause I was thinking about it that way. I'm like, I'm just going to like totally ruin this person's day. And it's probably going to put a damper in their day. Well, anyways, but there's the way to approach it like that. And if I go into it like that, I won't say what needs to be said, or I could go into it from the other extreme, which is you're terrible and you suck and get out of here.
Yeah.
And neither of those is
a great way to make friends.
Neither of those is very productive, and neither of those makes either person leave feeling respected or heard or anything of that. And the best example that I can give is at Wendy's again, when I was restaurant manager, was the male managers, the men who were managers had to talk to all the other guys who had hygiene problems. Like, hey, you're not putting on deodorant, or hey, like you need to pull up your hair. And it was always the worst conversation, because you're like, I don't want to tell this guy to put on deodorant, but he needs to put on. And you the way that you'd always open it up is, this is just as awkward for me as it is for you, I promise, but I need to have this conversation. And then you have it, and then you both like leave going like, okay, not going to have that conversation again. But it's way better than silence or violence. It's way better than either of those two options. I've never heard it portrayed that way, the silence or violence thing.
I get no credit for that idea, but it's totally from the book.
Yeah, but why not pass it on? And you passed it on lovely.
And
that was wonderful.
And the sooner that you have these, the better.
Yeah.
Because the longer you wait, they fester and they just get worse. So
absolutely. I guess my last question is, just to wrap this thing up, which has been great and totally unplanned, which I think is even better.
Yeah.
Actually. Is there anything you wish I would have asked? That's just my last question. And then where could people find you?
No, there's nothing I wish you would have asked. I just want to say one of the best parts of going down this path of being an entrepreneur and building things for creators has been meeting other creators. And when I think of the creators that I've met and gotten to know and work with, like, you're one of the first people that I think of. And I just want you to know, like, we appreciate you so much. Like, Mike and I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate you. Like, it's been really fun to become friends, even though we live so far apart that you have to keep driving down here. And
I'm going to keep a tally board, man. You got to drive up like, what, 3 times now?
I know, we're down by 3 now.
No, you're good. You're all good, dude.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I really do.
But like, I think one thing that's been really meaningful to me is when people that I'm friends with or I care about or I love will tell me something that they see in me. And there's a lot of things to love about you. And among those, one of my absolute favorite things is how earnestly genuine you are. Like, there is an active energy behind how genuine you are. You don't come at things in a slimy way. You come at them incredibly authentically and very genuine. And we need more people in the world like that. And I really appreciate you, man. Like, you are an incredible person and a wonderful friend to have. And I love you.
Love you too, dude. I told like, maybe jump.
Mic drop. Mic drop, but it's my keys.
Yeah, she totally watched me go like No, I was just gonna say I've told my wife several times, I'm like, dude, I'm so glad I've gotten to know Kensington and Mike. And I this is gonna sound like I'm just like right back at you, man. But truthfully, honestly, like, it's been really good. And it's been a really awesome to become close friends with you guys, and particularly you. I've known you since Happy Creative, and we've had a lot of phone calls and a lot of just like funny texts and a lot of enjoyable times.
Chats about Chris Hemsworth.
That's right. We're gonna have to get to the bottom of that on another podcast. How much you just do you have just posters of him in your room?
No, I don't. Don't. My wife's gonna watch this and roast me, man. She'd be like, "That's a great pod. I was waiting for you to talk about your man crush on Thor."
It's a respectable man crush, I'll tell you that. No, dude, I appreciate you. You've been great, and you make me you challenge me in ways that I'm like, I never thought of looking at it that way or approaching a certain thing that way. So I appreciate you.
Hey, thank you. I mean, it's been a great gift to get to know you, and I did not expect Happy Creative to lead to so many cool friendships. And anyway, we don't need to make this too cheesy, but long story short, really appreciate you, man. And if you have me on a third eventually, I'd love to do it.
It will happen.
Yeah.
It will happen.
Give me some time to actually build up another limiting belief in the meantime.
Yeah. Rehearse another speech for me, would you? Yeah.